My name's Kyle. I'm the head of sales here at Crowded. Super excited to have you here for the webinar tonight. Um, Talking today about tax for thriving nonprofits. But I don't know if a couple of you have seen the poll yet, but we send out a poll for some questionnaires that we can answer at the end of the call. Um, but until then, you can answer those questions as I present. Webinar will be 35 minutes maximum. I hope I don't bore you too much. I'll throw in some funny jokes just to keep it light. Say I'm funny. But the objective of the webinar here is to really show you guys processes. So we'll focus on 5 core benefits that I'll show you on the next slide. But let's kick it off. And thanks for joining. And let's have some fun. And really, thanks for coming. So a little overview, uh, really kind of the 5 core benefits, I like to call it, for, really, you know, hacking your nonprofit. First is convenience, right, guys? So always about simplifying tasks for ease and accessibility, visibility. So always having clear insights over, all the stuff that's going on the financial side of things. Security is really important. I know, cybersecurity, we hear it all the time, everywhere. It's a real threat and really important to protect your organization from that and fraud, etc. Efficiency. I know everyone loves efficiency, but really optimizing processes for better results. Super important for you guys as you guys get to really focus on what matters most for your nonprofits instead of having to deal with all the annoyances and whatnot that can, be involved. And the last thing here is compliance, right? Where staying on track with regulations, it's something I actually did a webinar back in November on. And it was really interesting because, I speak to a lot of my clients about this. Actually, it's a huge concern. Regulations are constantly changing, administrations are constantly changing. There's always been, even with this administration, some effects on nonprofits, and the IRS is introducing things, etc. So, really important to stay on top of the compliance side of things, and we're here to help with that. So, what I wanted to start with, which I thought was pretty cool, is the current state in the nonprofit world, right? There's a lot happening right now. So cool statistics for you guys to know is that there's been a drop in donations, right? With inflation. So Americans gave around 557.16 to the exact number, $1 billion in 2023, right? And this reflects a 2.1% decline from 2022. Really interesting to look at this. Employee burnout, it doesn't just happen, in regular standardized businesses, but it's happening across nonprofits too. So a recent study by Stanford Social Innovation Review said that approximately 50% of nonprofit employees experience high levels of burnout. So that's something just to keep in mind with your employees. And of course, technology improvements, right? Technology, and there's this thing called AI. I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard of that. That was me trying to be funny. So if you're laughing behind the screen, thanks. If not, I'll work on it for the next one. But it's improving every second, right? So the tools are at our fingertips. If you know where to look and what to look for, it's important to integrate these type of AI technologies into what you guys are currently doing, whether you like it or not. This is the future, and it's good to get ahead of the curve on that and find ways to really make AI work for you. Now, the first thing I wanted to talk about, right, for the 5 key benefits is convenience. So it's about simplifying tasks for ease and accessibility. So some examples of this, convenience for you guys, right? Remote account management. So with Crowded, you can easily change signatories and open sub-accounts online, which is a really cool feature and kind of something that I think is unique with us without the need for in-person visits or paperwork. So I don't know if you guys are like me, I hate going to the bank. So any chance I can do things online, I do. And that's really what we built here. Multi-channel payment solutions. So accept various payment methods, right? Credit card, ACH, Apple, Google Pay, customized payment options for donors. What's interesting about this is that, if you provide more options, I'll show that in another slide later, but the funding increases, funny enough. So having the accessibility and allowing your donors to give more money is really important in different ways. And then, of course, centralized oversight, right? So manage different funding streams with flexibility, allowing chapters to control their finances, right? Easily carry out bulk actions, maintaining oversight. Why is that important? You want to give ownership to your chapters and providing them the right tools to do that. That's what we're doing here at Crowded, giving that ownership to some of your chapters and allowing them to have full control, still with you guys having kind of overriding control. So some of the benefits with this, right? Streamline transitions. That change of signatories thing is really important. Instead of you guys having to go to a physical bank with the old signatory and the new signatory, finding a time to do it, the paperwork, you don't have to do that with us, and control, donor payment options, really encouraging donors to give more. And like I said, a third of consumers are more likely to donate if the charity accepts it online, which is really interesting. Visibility. So that's a picture of me. I'm kidding, it's not. I hope that was a little bit funnier. But gaining clear insights, right? So examples of some tech hacks around this. Centralized oversight, as we kind of said before, providing that centralized visibility of financial activity, really helping the leadership track all transactions so nothing gets lost. Payment management system. So track payments in real time. So with Crowded, you can view detailed donor information, monitor fundraising goals, make sure you hit those goals, but ensuring that the numbers are all lining up properly and you can kind of predict those numbers going forward. And then, as I said before, what I think is a really important thing that I spoke about before is that chapter compliance dashboard. So for you multi-chapter organizations out there, dashboards with us sync with the IRS database and track chapter compliance with tax filing deadlines. So some benefits about this is that, of course, transparency in how funds are being used and raised, real-time tracking and reporting for informed decision making, which is really important for you guys from a compliance standpoint. And then, of course, the ease of managing multiple chapters or committees. I know it can get super cumbersome, but using a system like Crowded really allows you to manage all of these chapters. Security. So protecting your organization, right? Um, Super important, guys. I mean, look, there's so many things out there that are happening, whether it's, hacks, frauds, somehow there's always a different documentary I'm watching about, on Netflix about this new fraud case that happened. It's happening everywhere, not just in crypto, not just in, your user data, but with your nonprofits as well. So secure online accounts with a robust encryption, guys, like, right? Protecting against that fraud and unauthorized access, having a really good payment security infrastructure. So it's important to ensure donor information is kept safe with secure payment gateways. So many services offer fraud protection and dispute resolution tools. Um, and that's really important, guys, to keep on top of. And of course, secure spending oversight, right? So enable secure spending with transparency, ensuring that all those transactions are tracked and protected from misuse, right? Whether it's internal or external, really important for this. And then those benefits of that security hack, like I mentioned, okay, that's me. That actually looks like me, funny enough. Reduced risk of fraud, theft, or human error, right? Secure that donation and payment processing, as I said before. And look, your donor information is sensitive, right? And that financial data is sensitive. So it's just really important that you guys have this, all your ducks in order for this because you don't want an angry donor. You don't want information getting, sent out there. Um, so really keeping track of this and, where we come in with our security side of things can really help in your cause. I'm not going to make a joke about this one, but efficiency, right? Streamlining processes, that is not me. Some examples of some, hacks that improve this efficiency is financial data automation. So AI, remember that cool word I told you guys right about? It can automatically extract financial data to fill out those IRS 990 forms, saving hours of manual work. Just got off a call with a client the other day and was like kind of in awe how much time can be saved from doing these 990 forms with us, which is just a total nightmare. And, you know, chapters and nonprofits alike push it to the side because they just don't want to do it. It's annoying and long. So with us, we can do this automation with our IRS integration. Digital debit cards. I don't know about you guys. I don't use physical cards anymore. I want to. I mean, I need to sometimes to take out cash, but I'm just, tapping my phone everywhere I go. So tracking expenses in real time, eliminating the need for manual reimbursements with our expense cards is really cool. And just speeding up financial processes so I can issue, digital debit cards on the go. People can have them handily on their phone. So it's really, accessible and making it a lot more easier. And then, of course, a hassle-free donation platform, right? So easily collect payments, send reminders, manage donations all in one platform instead of having one platform for donations, one platform for this. Your banking and, we kind of combine it all together. You got the compliance, you got the banking, you got all the financial data automation. So really the benefits here are freeing up time for mission-driven work. So you guys really just do what you're doing because it's amazing, but let's make that automation of administrative tasks more accessible. Reducing, right, that manual workload for staff and volunteers. And then, of course, streamline approval processes, right? Signatories, reimbursements. You're going to have someone on the back end who's going to be approving these. And it's quite important that, it can just be in a click of a button or accessible by the admins or whoever's handling it. And with Crowded, we really allow for that. Okay, no funny pictures here of me. So compliance and numbers, right? Really important to stay on track with regulations. And we compiled a couple statistics here. So I'll read them out, not in order, but some interesting ones that really stood out to me was that nonprofits spend about 100 hours per year on compliance. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is. And for good reason. Look, compliance is really important, but let's cut that down for you guys, right? Let's focus on other things and using our compliance efficiency automation features, it can go down, quite significantly. That 26 number, so 26% of every donation goes to compliance. I thought that was interesting. How much work actually goes into it, and then actually the donation money that goes into it as well, right? And then 70% of the time spent on compliance goes to filing 990. So again, I might be repeating myself here, but I'm repeating myself here for good reasons. A lot of efforts going into this and for good reason, but let us help you make it easier. And 16% actually, if you can go back one more slide, of nonprofit organizations have lost their tax exempt status. This is actually a really important one, why I left it at the end. So do not join this statistic, right? Regaining that tax exempt status takes a considerable chunk of time and will take away time from you guys working, for the nonprofit. But we've had to deal with getting chapters and organizations, nonprofits alike, reinstated because they lost that tax exempt status. And it's just a process you don't want to go through. So just make sure you're on top of that. Um, Yeah, I guess if I had a mustache, that looks like me. Tax recipient automation, right? So some examples of, you know, well, actually, I'll just go back to compliance here, which is really, automatically generating tax recipients for donations, tax receipts, sorry, over $250. That's actually a cool one because I know a lot of the times you guys have to do this manually. So if you do get a, donation for over $250, we can spit out an automated generated tax receipt for that, which is obviously in compliant with the IRS. Compliance tracker. So this works with a lot of large membership-based organizations that we work with, where you can track chapter compliance with IRS filings. So you can kind of have this dashboard with Crowded with all of your chapters, and there'll be just a column that says, when's the last time this chapter's filed their taxes? Did they file it? It's coming up. If they didn't file it last year, why? How do we, red flags, like how do we get them back in the swing of things? So without having this compliance tracker, you really are kind of flying blind sometimes looking at your chapter. So that's a super important thing to look at. And again, AI for tax filing, AI. That's what everyone talks about these days. But we want to really automate the tax data extraction filing. So, reduces the chances of human error. We do have human error sometimes. So does AI, I'll admit. But at least in this case here, you're ensuring that you're compliant with the tax laws and really reduces the chance of that error. So some of the benefits of compliance, I wish I looked like that. I do love Game of Thrones. Winter is coming. Avoid costly fines and penalties. They add up sometimes if you can, make a no-no there. Ensure accurate timely reporting to the IRS. They're very stingent about timing, and other regulatory bodies within that. So just make sure that you're on top of that. And then, of course, just simplify compliance tracking across the chapters, like I said before. Makes it a lot easier, and allows you to really overview regions, multi-chapter states and whatnot to ensure that they're all compliant. This one, you know, Buzz Lightyear. Funny enough, I said I'd be a little bit funny, but my celebrity lookalike that I've gotten a couple times is actually Buzz Lightyear. So I don't know if you can look at his face, you can look at me. It's kind of sad, but a lot of people have told me I look like Buzz Lightyear. I'll leave it for you guys. Toy Story is my favorite movie. But to summarize everything, guys, some key benefits that we obviously spoke about today. Convenience, right? Simplifying processes for those staff and donors, visibility, tracking and monitoring all that financial data in real time. Security, protect that sensitive data, guys. I can't stress this enough. Super important. Efficiency, saving time with automation and streamlined processes. And obviously, guys, compliance, right? Ensuring that your adherence to legal and tax requirements, which is really important. So, my call to action to you guys is I encourage you all to assess which tech hacks you can integrate into your organization for improved financial management. Long-term stability is super important. But again, this webinar is recorded. We can send this to you guys afterwards. But really feel free to reach out to myself, Buzz Lightyear, anyone else on the team. But again, any questions, I'll open the floor to questions and discussion. We can go over obviously the poll as well, but I hope I didn't bore you too much with some of the hacks. I hope I kept it a little light and funny, but thanks so much for coming. And I kind of, I guess we'll open the floor here for questions and discussion. Bueller, anyone? I am a Ferris Bueller fan, so um, please raise a hand, ask a question. If not, feel free to email me afterwards. Um, I hope you guys did fill in the polls. Um, but any questions, guys? Oh, someone did raise their hand. Robert. Robert, can Robert speak? There you go.
There we go. Oh, well,
Hey,
I
Rob.
was muted. So, your platform, you
Yeah,
were mentioned in chapters, and
yeah.
so we're independent, solitary nonprofit.
Okay.
So, what did you mean by chapters?
What I mean by chapters is we work with membership like based organizations, but think of like a fraternity, right? That has a
Mhm.
national headquarters and like 200 subchapters across the country. We work with a lot of Freemasons of America. So think of the Grand Lodge of Indiana and then the 300 subchapters within it across the state. That's what we mean
Okay.
by chapters. You
Okay.
you act individually, so that wouldn't be relevant.
Yes. Okay, that clarification, because I'm with a national fraternity and we do use your platform for the fraternity, but I was
Yeah,
just more concerned about how we can use it as an independent
I hope
nonprofit.
you're enjoying it.
Oh, yes, it works well
Love it.
for the
Awesome.
chapters.
Yeah, you will for nationals, you should see it. It works really well. Happy to show you some use cases with that, but yeah, it's been great for them as well. Thanks
Okay,
for the
thank you.
question. Pleasure.
Kyle, we have a question about the process of tracking chapter compliance using AI and how much it costs with Crowded.
Yeah, the pricing we can discuss offline. It depends on how many chapters you guys are going to have within your organization or headquarters. But the AI side of things, we're integrating really from more of a, filling in of details perspective. So we're integrating with the IRS. We have that integration. So we're able to extract data from the IRS on previous filings that can pre-fill, your filings going forward for the following year. So we're just incorporating some unique aspects of AI. There's still obviously parts of it that, as I mentioned, humans need to fill in and you need to fill out, whether it's numbers, etc. But the fact that we can extract that data, automatically from the IRS is something we're proud about that we built.
We have a question I really like because I like the answer. Which type of clients do we work with, and can we help sports clubs?
Whoever asked that great question. We work with a ton of sports clubs, soccer, baseball, all youth sports club. I'm a hockey guy. I'm from Canada originally, so go Leafs go, from Toronto. But if you're a hockey club, I'd love to work with you. But really, any sports club, yeah. Our sub account feature, that I mentioned a couple times, I think on the call, works really well. Whereas, if you're a sports club, if you're an individual sports club, you can work with us regardless. But if you're, let's say, a sports club that has multiple teams underneath it, you can essentially create sub bank accounts for each one of those teams and move money to and from them instantaneously. So there's no real product out there. I mean, there's similar ones, but can do it in the kind of the speed and security that we have, right? That follows compliance and security. But you can have all these different sub accounts within your main account. So each team can have its own signator, right? Its own coach running that $5,000 budget that you put for them on a digital debit card that they can access for all sorts of operations and expenses. But yeah, we just actually came from a couple sports conferences in the US last month. We were in Connecticut for baseball, in Chicago for soccer. And I'm just a sports guy in general, so love talking to sports clubs.
We have a few more questions. Um, this one also I like. If someone needs to issue payments to people at their summer camp, can they do this with Crowded?
Great question. We also work with a ton of summer camps across the US. I'm actually flying to Dallas next week to make a presentation at the ACA conference, the camp conference. So if you'll be there, whoever asked that, stop by. But yeah, we've helped a lot of camps across the US pay their international staff with us. It's been a real issue for them. How do we pay them if they don't have an SSN, they don't have a US number? We don't want to open up a US bank account for them. So with Crowded, you're able to issue per diem accounts with them, load money on. You don't want those staff carrying around cash with them. And those cards are accessible. They're Visa cards. You can use them around the world. You can also send money from your Crowded account to your home account with a feature called Push to Card. If I'm from London and I'm sending money from my Crowded account to my London bank account Visa card, you can do that within Crowded. So a lot of cool features within Camp. Also happy to whoever asked that show some more things afterwards.
I think this will be our last question. This is really relatable, especially with nonprofit burnout. That's been very prevalent. We're struggling lately with raising donations, far less compared to last year. Do you think your platform can help us raise more?
Great question, actually. Look, it comes down to who the organization is. From my experience, having more accessible payment methods does help, right? That was a statistic I said. Naturally, it's going to be who the nonprofit is, but we do make it easier with, you can offer Venmo to collect payments, and you can use Crowded as, your bank that can just accept payments from Venmo. We have a cool feature from our phone where you can do in-person collections where someone can tap a card on your phone. It becomes a POS system, and boom, on the spot, you can collect dues or whatnot. So we have some unique ideas. Again, whoever asked that, happy to talk more about it afterwards. But look, there's definitely ways, and I think that's one of the ways why why maybe funding has gone down is because I don't know, cash and checks, they're not as they're easy, but they're just, not a lot of organizations really are accepting them all the time now. So maybe moving to a more digital world can help with that.